These are the fasteners I used. I've had a couple of people, well, 2 or 3, that's wanted me to share the dimensions, the material list, and everything that I did on my shed, because I guess they're a little bit crazy if they're thinking they're wanting to build one, something like what I got right here. Well, the start of this project began with a drawing. Now, you don't have to have one of these drawing tables. This is a little student table that I picked up several years ago, but it works very well for elementary drafting. So what I'm doing laying off here is using a scale of a 1/2 inch per foot, and I'm laying out where the posts are going to sit. They're going to be and I'll be showing you later with a tape measure, but from outside of the post to the other end, the outside of the post is 30 feet long, and from the outside of the post to the outside of the post, the shed is going to be 12 feet wide. I found that in the 6 months that I've been using this shed, that this has been a very adequate size for my particular sawmill. I have the 16-foot 8-inch bed, and I thought about getting another section or building another section, and this shed would accommodate it if I want to. So here I'm just laying out some perimeter lines where the posts are going to sit, so that I'll know exactly how I want this thing to start looking. This is a very simple, extremely simple design, but I wanted to show you that if you're going to build something, and you don't have to use a ruler and a pencil. Well, you have to use a pencil, obviously, but you don't have to use a drafting table and lay it out like this. But it's good to put down on paper what you're going to build. If you will, you're going to have a set of blueprints. And hopefully this blueprint is going to work pretty well. So as you can see, these little bitty indicators here are where the posts are going to sit. Obviously one on each corner. And then the back wall, I've got one, they're spaced about 1 every 10 feet. On the front wall, we've got a 20-inch clear span. And so those posts, and I'll be showing the dimensions here in a little bit, from inside of one post to the inside of the other post is 20 feet where the logs are going to be loaded onto the shed. These little lines here on the outside that's got the crow's feet on them, those are called dimension lines, which will tell me or whoever's going to build this thing how big to build it. Just a little helpful tool that you'll need. Now, just for illustration's sake, I'm going to show where the rafters are going to go, where the tin's going to set. So these lines here are where the tin set, but actually I made a mistake, because what I did, I ran the tin counting the overhang. The tin covers 3 feet, and there were 11 pieces of tin. So I'm going to correct this here in just a minute. But those are all the rafters there, those 2 little lines. And here you can see the purlins going in. That's where the posts are going to sit. Now, I wouldn't draw all this normally, but doing it just for your benefit so that you can see where the purlins are going to sit. So the little dashed lines represent where the purlins are. They're on 2-foot centers, and I think I may have spread apart the last 2. These lines going in here, that's the rafters. They're on 2-foot centers. Well, I want to be a little bit of accommodating, and that's why I've drawn that plan for you. And then I thought I'd bring you here on site and show you a few measurements of some stuff that I've done. Now, this is not an easy thing to do, and the measurements here match up with the measurements on that drawing. As you can see, from the outside of this post to the outside of this post, you'll have 12 feet. All right. And if we got enough tape. If we pull the tape from the outside of this post, see if I'm going to the outside of this post, we got 30 feet. Same thing on the front. If you were to pull a diagonal from this corner to that corner up yonder, you get the same thing as if you pull from the outside of that corner to that corner. You'd have the same length, any diagonal. You know what I'm saying? That's the easiest way that most of us can square something up. And squaring something up is really important. You need to spend a little time on getting that bad boy square, because if you don't, when you go to put your tin on, that's where you're really going to tell the difference. But it just makes everything work so much better if you take the time to square it up. Now let me mention something else while I'm into this, and that is your grade. You want to try to get that where you don't have water standing in under your shed. I was fortunate that I had a piece of equipment and could do that. So that's something you certainly want to try to take care of if at all possible. Now these posts here, I think I mentioned when I was drawing it, they're 14 feet. In the rough, they were 14 foot 6 inches long. They're in the ground about 30 inches. Now how do you know how far to put them in the ground? Well, one of the things that determines that is if you're going into undisturbed soil or disturbed soil. If you got undisturbed soil, you got good, strong, solid sidewalls in your hole. And in that, if you wanted to, you wouldn't even have to use concrete. Many times in my lifetime, we've just dug a hole and then stuck our post in, pack some rocks in around it, get it good and plumb, and with 7 posts, if they were all packed in with stones, why yeah, that building would stand. But putting the concrete in there, and even if you wanted to put some stones in there along with some concrete, you can reduce the amount of concrete that you have. Now I made a material list, and one or two fellows was wanting me to share my material list to see what I got. I'll just show it to you, and you can pause it on your screen or whatever. This pretty much covers about everything that I had. Most all the materials. Well, it's not very well legible. Does that light help a little bit? There you go, that's a material list. If you have any questions or anything I can help you with in the construction of your shed, let me know and I'll get back to you. 2 things that I've done already that have been great additions. The winch, especially having the remote control on the winch, that's just been a real blessing. I hope you can afford to get you one of those. That's a good thing. Lights, as you get older, you know, light really important, and that's been a blessing. That's a good thing. These little sawdust sleds, I tell you what, those things for me, for my situation, have been worth absolutely every penny. Putting these cross braces on the feet, that has studied this thing up. I can try to shake it or move it. All I'm doing is shaking and moving the camera. Let me set the camera on this. And I'll try to give her a shake. You can move it a little bit, but that's mighty steady. For my money, I like it on gravel. Walking on concrete hurts my back. But, you know, you do what you can do or want to do. The little outfeed rollers here, that's been a blessing. Be able to shoot the slabs right off the back, the offcuts. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to make me another roller. That's what that one's for right there. Coming off the side to put my lumber out here so I can pick it up and take it to the stack. Everybody's situation's a little bit different. I've noticed all kinds of ways of loading and unloading and sawing and milling. Best to you in how you decide to do yours. And I know you want to do it the most efficient way. Somebody asked me, had one question, how tall did I finish my rails out? Where did I want it? Well, mine's at 26 inches, and then to the top of the bunk is around 29 1/4. I'm just a touch over 6 foot tall. That works well for me. I think it does you well if you can have your deck, your log deck, your railing, your bed, whatever you want to call it, at a height that's comfortable with your height. Just gonna make life a little bit easier for you. For me, this worked perfect. I don't want it any higher or any lower. Let me mention real quickly, these posts back here, I think they were cut 10 foot 6 inches long. They're on basically, 10 foot centers. And they're in the ground the same as the front. And then the way they're cut off and the way that header's mounted on there, it's a little bit different, a little bit unusual, but it provides tons of lateral strength, which is really not that critical because your purlins are going to provide lateral strength for your purlins, and then your bracing is really critical, especially in high wind zones. But if you, I just screwed down through there and then just built like a regular residential framing header. I used 2x8s, could have gone with 2x6s, probably even could have used 2x4s, as short a span as it is from this brace to that brace. But anywho, so I had those on the yard, so that's what we use. Now, a minute ago I was talking about squaring up your building. Why is that important? Well, now this table's set to a string, but if you can look down at 10, you can see how straight it is. And all that goes back to where you set your posts and getting everything square in the ground and getting it square all the way up as you can. And then what's really going to tell on you, that is, that line of that 10 is going to tell if you're square. And then the final thing that's really going to tell on you, when you put your last piece of tin on, do you have the same margin from your finished wood to your tin top, or the bottom and the top? And if you do, then you can pretty well guarantee what you built is square. And then I come down to where I started, And you can see here, got the same margin of the tin at the start and at the bottom. Now the other end's not the same overhang as this end. That's because the other end, that's where the weather and the rain comes from, and it was more important for me to have more overhang down there. Does that make any sense? Hope so. All right. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment. Like I said, anything I can do to help you, or as far as, you know, using this thing advice, just watch Hobby Hardwood or some of them other sawmill channels. Mark Galicki, I think he's got a good channel. There's some good ones out there that can teach us some stuff about how to saw logs. When it comes to carpentry, well, I don't even want to tell you how old I am, but let's just say that the Essential Craftsman fella, I could be his older brother. How's that? But I've been doing it a long time. Started when I was a teenager, and maybe I've learned a few things. I've been fortunate to have some really good teachers, and I can't thank them enough for having the patience with me when I was a young, strapping, bulletproof young man who thought he knew everything, and they had the patience to teach me and show me. And then through the years, God's blessed me with some mighty great teachers, and I'm grateful for them. Can't thank them enough. So anywho, I think maybe I've talked too much and maybe said something. Main thing is, if you have a question or comment or something, appreciate if you drop it in there. And we'll see you in the next one.